He left it all on the field.
I think you're going to see those numbers really skyrocket downward. And I can
Pause
only
it for
say
1
this.
second. He was talking about the coronavirus cases. And just for those of you who are not rocket scientists, you don't want something to skyrocket downward, because that is implying a horrible, tragic crash.
We got a real challenger ahead of us, a real challenger these days, but it's just going to blow right up.
You want your skyrocket to go up. If it is skyrocketing downward,
that's a ground rocket.
It's a ground rocket, and that's not a good situation for the rocket. Just to let you know, the idea that this cretinous human being even can utter a word about the direction of coronavirus cases in this country. I'm so old. I remember when he said it's just going to disappear one day like magic, and it will probably. It's just that one day is going to come after, 5, 6, probably 7, maybe 750,000 Americans die. I mean, it's highly unlikely that we're not going to, and we're going to break 500,000. I mean, that's just, I'm sorry, that's what's going to happen.
In the next 4 weeks.
Probably going to do that in the next, month or month and a half at the most. And then it's going to skyrocket it down, and then a massive explosion, and everyone's going to probably get jet fuel on them and burn to death. I mean, the good part about that. Good.
I think you're going to see those numbers really skyrocket downward. And I can only say this, we have worked hard. We've left it all, as the athletes would say, we've left it all in the field. We don't have to come and say, we'll never say in a month when we're sitting in Florida, we're not going to be looking at each other and saying, if we only worked a little bit harder. You can't work harder.
And we
had a lot of obstacles, and we went through the obstacles.
Pause it for 1 second. If there's ever been anything that he has said that I think is truthful and you can rely on, there is not going to be a moment where he looks at each other. I don't know who he's looking at, because I would imagine within 30 days, Melania will have moved out of the house. He's not going to look at anybody and say, I could have worked harder. I'm quite convinced that Donald Trump will go to his grave and never, ever, ever utter anything like that. I think you can take that to the bank. Continue.
A bit harder. You can't work harder. And we had a lot of obstacles, and we went through the obstacles, and we just got 75 million votes, and that's a record in the history of sitting presidents. That's an all-time record by a lot, by many millions in the history of sitting presidents. It's been really just an honor.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the thing is that the other guy got more.
Yeah, well, okay. Technical
Not
detail.
a sitting president, though.
He came in second. That's not bad. That's not bad, unless it's a two-man race.
Yeah, second in history. I got way more than George Washington.
I'm going to go down in history. Not as, it's going to be, when history talks about me, they're going to ignore the part about the 2 impeachments. They're going to ignore the part about the insurrection in the Capitol. They're going to ignore the part about ignoring the pandemic and leading to hundreds of thousands more people than in 1918. People don't talk about that. We did better. We're going to do better with this pandemic. More people are going to die. So there's that. And they're not going to talk about any of that. They're going to talk about how I got more votes up until that point of any sitting president.
I know he's been a gross president, and it's hard to, talk about this too lightly, but the idea of what's going to be in his presidential library, like a big wall of him saying most votes all time by a sitting president or something to that effect, is just, I can't wait to get there.
No, I mean, there are things that we will miss. Like, he had incredible moments and sound bites. Look, I mean, he was hilarious in so many ways, and that is the one aspect that I will miss, just the force of him as a human being and the
Someone should
little
make
bizarre things.
a virtual reality Trump presidency. Here's what I would include in it. The first exhibit, you walk in and there's a wall, right? And it's a picture of, and because you want stuff for kids, right? You want it to be interactive so that the kids can interact. And you put up on the wall a picture of his inauguration crowd, and you allow kids to come in and draw people into it. So they just keep adding on the wall. So it looks like every time a kid comes in, they can add a picture of another person who was at his inauguration and fill out the entire mall. I think that would be a
great.
fun thing for the kids, right?
Yeah, that's kind of beautiful. It's like some sort of mural of peace.
Some level. It's right. You can make Donald Trump's dreams come true. And build on history. You can be part of history. You can make history.
You can make.
And then sometime, like, it may take a couple hundred years. Enough kids will have come through that museum and will have actually given him a record of the number of people who were at the inauguration.
It's beautiful.